So we start out with glucose and 2 ATPs, and the ATPs are oxidized, losing phosphate group, and they become ADP. And glucose gains the phosphate groups, and the phosphate groups split glucose, creating 2 G3Ps. So our G3Ps are continuing along, and NAD plus is reduced and goes and gains an electron, which creates energy, which catalyzes phosphate groups to come and attach to the G3Ps and create BPG. And then the BPGs continue on, and ADP is reduced and gains a phosphate group from our BPGs, which turns these into 3PGs, and they continue along. So as our 3PGs continue on synthesizing, H2O is released as a byproduct, and then ADP is reduced and gains a phosphate group from our 3PGs, which leaves us with 2 pyruvates.
Alrighty, so the next phase of cellular respiration is the preparatory reaction. We have an input of 2 pyruvate molecules, and this is occurring in the matrix of the mitochondria. So to begin, the pyruvates are oxidized, and so we are going to have 2 carbon dioxide molecules form excuse me, as an output. These 2 molecules are going to move down. Oops. And the next step of this is NAD plus is going to be reduced as 2 electrons come along and join, making NADH our second output. Our 2 carbon molecules are going to come along, and they are forming acetyl groups. And an enzyme called coenzyme A is going to join to them and carry them through. And what we have as the end
acetyl CoA joins with oxaloacetate and forms citrate. H2 is removed and then added again.
Okay.
Isocitrate is oxidized and releases CO2, and it becomes a 5-carbon molecule. And while this happens, NAD plus reduces to form NADH. 5-carbon molecule is then oxidized, releasing CO2, and then NAD plus turns into NADH again. CoA is replaced by phosphate, and ADP makes ATP. It becomes a 4-carbon molecule, and 2 hydrogen atoms go to FAD, which produces FADH2. FADH2 carries electrons to electron transport chain. H2 is added to the 4-carbon molecule, creating another one. Oxaloacetate is created again by oxidation, and another NAD plus is turned into NADH. The electron transport chain occurs in the cristae of the mitochondria. It is a series of membrane-bound carriers that pass electrons from one another. As electrons are being transferred, the cell is able to capture energy and used to produce ATP molecules. NADH goes to the protein and it pumps hydrogen ions into the intermembrane space. It then becomes NADH. FADH also releases hydrogen ions. It becomes FAD. Electrons are passed on to other proteins, and then water is formed. The hydrogen ions go through ATP synthase and produce ATP. A net of 32 to 36 is produced.